up and running. It's the Goat Pod. I'm here with Alvin Hussey from Beano.
Boom.
I've known you for
Donkeys.
Donkeys, yeah, probably
Donkeys.
since the start of Goat.
Don't know
4
why
years?
donkeys is a measure of time, but
No.
since you
Probably
were
about 4 years ago.
I think did I not meet you, Aaron, when you were at Sports Lobster?
Yeah, but yes, you did, because you were selling. It wasn't the hook. It was called
probably Hello You. And
Hello
it was a
You,
street marketing
and it was
side.
the boxes.
It was, and I remember it was bloody hot that day, and I turned up
and
in shorts. And I remember whoever was it, Nick Cook?
Yes.
He was like, "Oh my God, you guys are wearing shorts. This is incredible. You guys are so real."
Yeah. Because everyone in the sports industry was very much trousers and shirt.
And then my boss turns up in flip-flops.
Yeah,
He normally wears flip-flops. He's probably still wearing flip-flops in this weather now.
Yeah, big up to Andy Fiddler.
Of course.
So let's start there, really. I think the interesting thing about your career so far is you've gone from publisher and very early on in a publisher, and a publisher was, very successful when you were there and gone on to be, continue to be very successful. And now working at a brand which everybody knows but isn't massive.
Yeah.
But is trying to do some cool and innovative things, has an amazingly well-known brand mark, incredibly well-known characters, and trying to move into the digital sphere, which obviously is where you understand from the publisher side. But the publisher world has changed so much in the last 2 years.
Yeah. Last 2 months, to be fair.
Yeah, let alone the sort of, how long were you in that market? About 7 years, 7 years?
It's a while. I mean, I've been in youth media for about, 9 years. Before that, I'd done IT sales. There was a point where, no disrespect to anyone who works in IT sales, but I can't, selling servers and network support and all that, it just wasn't really for me. And then I got into student marketing. I was actually very close to leaving the country, actually. My parents
Where would have been your number one choice?
Well, my parents at the time, so my mum's Malaysian, my dad's from the UK, and 2010, April time, they literally left and they retired. They live over there now, so having a great time.
In Malaysia?
Yeah, in Malaysia, having a sweet time.
Oh, amazing.
And at that time, I was kind of in between jobs, and I remember my CV wasn't looking the best
and
at
how
that
old
point.
are you at this point?
25.
Okay, so you done uni?
Yeah, I did uni. I kind of did one of those classic things that probably students don't do now, but I just kind of dropped. I just came out of uni and was like, oh, what do I do?
Yeah.
But I was thinking, sod this. I'm not feeling it in London, not feeling the UK. I'm just going to go and live in Malaysia, get a job somewhere. I'm sure I don't speak any Malay, apart from a very few important terms like, I want a beer. And
Yeah, of
I'm
course.
hungry.
Yeah.
Thank you. And then
the 3 things that will get you by most places.
Yeah, and I'm thirsty. That's it.
Yeah.
So I had to hug her. That's pretty much it. And then
Pretty amazing place in Malaysia, right?
Oh, it's an incredible place. Yeah, I was very, very, very fortunate the fact that I got to go family holidays, and I was able to go there and spend a decent amount of time there. So it's a beautiful, beautiful place. So yeah, so I was literally I was thinking to myself, you know what, I'm going to leave, and I got a call from a recruiter and said, do you want to go and work at a student marketing company? They do welcome boxes into student bedrooms when they arrive at university. And I thought, that's an awesome idea. I wish I came up with that idea. Met the guys, and there was only 4 of us in a room in Hammersmith. And then kind of what happened was I did that for years, worked with some really great brands, people like GiftGaff, Coca-Cola, Carmex, a real variety of different types of brands. And then off the back of that, we transitioned to the social space. That's what's really, really interesting. At a time, we were always trying to think of like an online youth destination. And I think at one point, we decided to create a blog. We had a Facebook page. And this was, I guess it's right time, right place, to be fair. And it was when like Lad Bible, Unilad, VT, Jungle's page was launched. And Facebook videos started taking off. We hired some really great people who created, who were really good at creating original video. And it just kind of took off. And then we rebranded that page as The Hook. And then that became the social elements. I went from very much switching from shopper marketing and sampling and that type of thing, to now going into social media. So I kind of had to learn everything from scratch. So it was a really interesting time. It's a bit of a, looking back on it now, it's kind of a bit of a Wild West. Things were, no one really sure what you could do, and this is pre-algorithm, so you could probably do
anything.
to be fair. But it was a really exciting space, and I was doing that for over 5 years. So it's a really interesting. The dark days before Snapchat, no TikTok, no Instagram stories, none of that was existence. People forget that sometimes. Instagram's only been around for 9 years. So
And Story's only been around for 4.
yeah, so people forget about that, and I think it's really interesting how those type of formats are just now standard now. I think people really easily forget that there was life before those formats. So yeah, it's been really cool.
So let's go back to the early days of what now is the Hook. Small office, a lot of hard work, trying to figure out how to commercialize this property that you had. Like, what were the landmark moments where you're like, that's kind of what made us realize something, or that's what changed our opinion on this? Or
there was a point where we started working with a lot of the movie studios. Specifically at the beginning days, it was Sony, Lionsgate, and Warner Brothers. And there was a point where, back in, I want to say 2016, when their agencies and the brands themselves approached us, or I approached them and kind of knocked down the door as much as I can and said, work with me.
Yeah.
We've got an amazing audience, it'd be relevant for this, or this. And there was a point where they became more open to content creation. It sounds, again, if you think your mind back, the idea of working with a social page to then create content to promote your film that isn't a trailer, to now seems pretty obvious now. But back then it wasn't. And I think the one campaign that kind of really made us think, hang on, this is really cool, was we did
was it a clown one?
Well, that was that was a year later. So that's this is almost the precursor to that. So we did the Blair Witch sequel.
Okay.
We decided naively that this would be pretty simple to do, but we created a VR horror mini movie.
Okay.
Put this out on Facebook 360 at the time.
Yep.
And we just thought it's just really cool, and people talking to us about it. And I remember actually being in Vietnam on holiday trying to sort out bits and pieces with the team. But that kind of made us realize, hang on, that was something really interesting. And the following years, when the clown one, as you so put it,
That's the one I remember the most. What was that film?
That was for Jigsaw, which
Jigsaw,
was the 7th Saw film. For any of your listeners who've never seen a Saw film, you're really missing out.
And you didn't know there was 7.
Yeah, if you didn't know there was 7, there's a lot of them. And it was the first one in years. And they basically, it's a Lionsgate picture, and they really want to take back Halloween. And they're just like, look, whatever you think could be really big, do it. And we said, brilliant, we want the puppet. Because it's such an iconic, the traps, the other elements of the film, but it's really that puppet that's really creepy, really scary. And we said, look, we want to bring that back. So we created lots of fun content, worked some influencers, created a really cool thing at Waterloo, the Vaults in Waterloo Station. We did some really cool filming there. Amazing team. I could name loads of people, but I remember at the time it was Jessica Lever and Sam Marden who really nailed the style of it. And a guy called Theo, who's head of video, really nailed the kind of style of it. And then we also did a series where we put Billy the puppet in real life, almost like Knock Knock Ginger, when people knock on the door and run away, but it's Billy was there. And the content just did insanely well. And I think we worked out, it sounds really obvious now, but if you create content that is interesting, unique, exciting, different, shareable, then it's going to do really well. You don't see in your newsfeed, you don't see a weird clown puppet in your news. Well, hopefully you don't. You don't see that sort of thing every day, so people are really intrigued by it. So, and that, really proud of that campaign. Won, I think, 7 awards last year, Campaign of the Year awards. And
I remember.
Ironically, or annoyingly enough, the one that we actually took the client to was the one we didn't win.
Always the way.
Always the way, right? It's so slow. It was bad luck. We jinxed it. But they're a really great team at Lionsgate, really great team at Cara who did the campaign. But that was kind of a real, not eye-opener, but almost like a confirmation of, this is the way to do it. It wasn't easy. I'm not going to lie to you, it wasn't easy. We didn't have huge brand recognition compared to the bigger players in the market. We had to really kind of scrap for lots of bits and pieces. But it was a real exciting time where...
How did you deal with that? How did you deal with not having the recognition of a Lab Bible or did you, despite that hindering you to some degree, you also quite like being the underdog?
Yeah, we always like being the underdog. I think they're really cool businesses to be. I'm not denying those guys. Lad Bible and Jungle are smashing it. They're doing a really good job and they're doing some really interesting things. You keep reading about Jungle doing some really cool stuff on the Twisted side. They're doing stuff on delivery, so they're doing all amazing things. With us, we never. It was just more about saying to brands and agencies, look, they're great. We're just different, and these are why we might be different in a slightly different style. So I think we did like being the underdog. We like doing things a bit differently, and And
You were
it was
like a
just
studio, whereas they were very much leading with their page.
yeah, that's kind of how we like to see ourselves as at the time the Hook was very much thinking about original content. We create lots of fun series, comedy sketches, and that's how. And the idea, I guess the rationale was we learned from it. It's all very well putting up, say, a video of a sneezing dog, which again I love that stuff. I'm a huge fan. Our kind of rationale
Yeah,
is,
don't get me wrong. I'm a massive fan of
I'm a massive.
sneezing dogs.
Yeah, I mean, what's wrong with that?
You were the guys who, probably pioneered the original content series, Facebook
Yeah,
videos.
I think so. Yeah,
In that group of creative Facebook publishers, it was
I
definitely.
like to
remember.
think so.
I remember it being the Hook going, because I remember talking to the guys saying, "Oh, that's interesting. They're going to spend a lot of money in the next few years on creating content before everybody else."
And I think but to be fair to the credit of the other publishers, they've also invested in
course.
lots of original stuff.
They've had
They're doing
to.
stuff. They've had to, exactly, and they're doing some amazing content series. So I think it's just I guess in the social publisher space, it's always been that kind of challenge of how do you do it in a way that is makes sense, monetize, revenue wise and commercial wise, and that's where the interesting conversations are to have. But no, it was a really, I loved working there. I still keep in touch with the guys. They're just around the corner from my new offices now, so I see them a few times, and they're doing really, really well. So fair play to them. But yeah, so I really enjoy it. It was an amazing experience to go from a relatively unknown brand. When you say to people, I work at the Hook, and people are like, yeah, whatever, to then having my hair cut, and the hairdresser would be like, oh yeah, I know you guys. You did that funny video that I watched the other day, or go into that awards do where I think it was the British Media Awards, and actually that's how I knew Beano Studios. My current roles, actually, the guys on my table were from there.
Okay.
A guy called Ian and a guy called Martin, and we didn't think we were going to win. There was the bigger competitors all had tables, and we just thought, let's just have a good time. And it was one of the first major awards we won, and to be fair, I was more excited because the voice of Strictly was doing the award number.
Oh,
So
nice.
I was kind of hoping for him to say, the Hook Labs doing the Paso Doble.
You're a voice artist.
No, shut up. And then when he announced that we had won, I think it was Content Studio of the Year. That was a real wow that we're being recognised. Lauren Laverne was on stage, and I forgot for some reason how to shake a hand.
Yeah, no, that happens.
I'm sure you guys have won tons of awards, but for us, it's just an amazing experience. So, yeah, I think for me to have and take all those learnings from there, it was an amazing time. I mean, obviously there were ups and downs and there were challenging elements, but it's an amazing team, still are, and yeah, it was a great time. Yeah, great to be involved in that.
So why leave? Why leave at that time?
Good question. I hated them all. But, you know what? I'd been here for 5.5 years, and it got
to the time.
Yeah, it was a long time, and it wasn't like I was actively looking, but I was interested in new challenges, and I think I really enjoy being in that kind of startup vibe, and almost thinking, brilliant, we've got this. How can we, from a commercial point of view, that's my role, is to work. Which brands can we work with? And I really enjoyed that element. And a part of me just wanted that challenge again, I think.
So let's talk the audience through kind of what your new role is and what Beano Studios is trying to do in 2019, going into 2020, versus what people would traditionally think of Beano and what it does.
So again, most of your listeners, if they grew up in the UK, they would have probably know the Beano from the comic, which has been going on for 81 years this year.
Wow.
Celebrates 4,000th issue a few weeks ago, which is it's one of the oldest comics in the world. And people probably remember the characters like Dennis and Nasher and Banana Man, the Bash Street Kids, still going strong, which is really exciting. However, Beano Studios has been around for 2 or 3 years, and the real approach of Beano Studios is all about engaging the new generation of kids.
Yep.
And really, and that comes through different ways, and we kind of see it as still keeping that really fun, mischievous, rebellious nature of the comic, but updating it for the new generation. So we see it as this kind of rebellious content studio, all about kid insights, all about understanding genuinely what's happening in the life of kids today, and then really my role actually as commercial director, I specifically work for Beano for Brands, which is the kid agency side of the business, and it's actually driving the industry to think more kid. We see them as a totally new generation. This audience, our kind of audience is kind of Generation Alpha. So those kids born since.
Ooh, is that what they're calling it?
That's what they're calling it. Yeah,
When was that
millennials
term?
are done. Gen Z are done. It's move along. It's
Who coined Gen Alpha?
Do you know,
That's the first time I've ever heard it.
I should know, but I don't. Some smart cookie, some smart person. I don't know what the next iteration is going to be, but they are
Gen
kids
Alpha.
born since 2010. So the oldest would be 9 years old, although our audience is kind of 6 to 12, but our main demographic is that Gen Alpha, and they're kids born since 2010. So that's the year that both the iPad and Instagram was launched.
Interesting. So it really is the new generation. It's the first generation that's going to be purely digital native.
Yeah. I think even digital native I think they're digital masters. They don't know. Yeah, they don't know world before. I mean, we've done loads of research into this already. We've done a Generation Alpha white paper recently, and we found that. I could spend the next hour talking through it.
Fantastic. That's exactly the plan.
But we're seeing that actually they are, they're technical masters. I mean, they love coding. They're into robotics. They know what fake news is. More than a third actually think they're confident enough to know what fake news is. They know what clickbait is. They're quite savage when it comes to deciding who they follow on social media. But then on the other side of things, we're seeing that actually they are becoming more old-fashioned. They actually love playing outside. They're into knitting. And that they are becoming... We see them as very much this new generation of kids who are post-stereotype. They're questioning things like gender. They're questioning, how we're dealing with climate change. They are not happy with how the adults are dealing with the planet. I mean, 1 in 5 have already been on a march or protest, which blows my mind because I personally have never been on a march or protest, and I was quite taken aback by the fact that there's kids out there, and that's probably increased massively since we did that research early in the year. Since obviously the youth marches recently,
And Greta.
So, yeah. And Greta obviously is a huge figurehead and leader to look up to. So it's really interesting. But I think what I find the most interesting challenge is that a lot of people think back to when they were kids, and they think, when I was a kid, I didn't know this, or I didn't know who the Prime Minister was when I was 7 years old, or I didn't know about advertising, or I didn't know this. And actually the reality is, and I think that's kind of a not silly, such a strong word, but it's not the right route to go down. Actually, we're seeing that this audience, they know who the politicians are. We have insights every week. We have a panel we speak to every single week, and we get obviously data from our site. But we see they know who Boris Johnson is. They know who Donald Trump is. He was the most famous person they spoke about last year. They see him as almost this comic book supervillain, because his policies don't match up with what kids think. His policies of separation and borders goes against what kids think. Kids they think about openness and connection. And they know who Jeremy Corbyn is. Although one kid did say Jeremy Corbyn is antiseptic, so it didn't quite nail that. Close, pretty close. better than the other claims. So it's really. So I find that absolutely fascinating. As someone.
But do you think it's quite dangerous that they know these people because of the amount of attention they're getting in the media, and they're just regurgitating what the media's saying, even by that point, right, where a kid is effectively trying to say that Jeremy Corbyn is anti-Semitic. That is just how on earth can a 9-year-old actually make a judgment on whether or not that's true? But he's regurgitating something that he's just because they're on Twitter, they're on Snapchat, they're on Instagram, they're on the Daily Mail, they're on the BBC homepage, like on all these different things and soaking up that information.
Yeah.
But they're at an age where processing that information with experience and actually being able to provide context yourself.
Yeah, it's true.
Without being able to just regurgitate, which is what I imagine that is.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's where there's a lot of organizations who have to be aware of that. I think the reality is, kids shouldn't be on social media, but they are. We know that from our insights, they're on, Snapchat, Facebook, not so much. They're mainly on Instagram, TikTok, and those platforms. And you can see that with the FTC, the fines in the US of YouTube and TikTok. There is a real important role for education there. So I think it's an interesting one. I think it's important for the world to adapt. These kids are getting their media from. You got to think when we were growing up, you would probably get most of your information would be from. I mean, there was no internet when I was that age, so I went to the library. I think I had Encarta 96. Do you remember those CDs? I mean, you're younger than me, so you don't
I'm
remember
sorry,
this.
mate.
No, mate. Do you not remember?
When you said, "Oh, I've got to think about 9 years ago," and then you still said a number larger than my age, I was like, okay. we're gonna miss some cultural appropriation here.
For anyone in their 30s, right? You remember if you had to do your school report, you had to pop in a CD of Encarta 96 or Britannica, and you had to like get the information from there. There's no Wikipedia. There was none of this.
What did that do?
Well, it was just like an encyclopedia. You just popped it in, and it's hard to explain because it was like a Wikipedia on CD, but was never updated.
CD-ROM for your computer.
Yeah, so you'd get a CD, you pop it into your. You don't know what CD. Right, okay.
No, CD-ROM for your computer.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So you pop your CD in.
But a CD in my head is like a
music.
CD,
Oh, right. Okay,
CD-ROM,
so
right?
back in the day, yeah, that's how you used to put programs on is through your little CD. Yeah. Whereas now I think about no laptop has a CD drive anymore, do they?
No.
Wow.
No laptop has a USB anymore.
Yeah, do you know what? It's funny you say that because with my MacBook, I have to bring along an adapter just to plug a USB in. Yeah, it's wow. I remember working in Dixon's all those years ago, and I remember I'm going massively on tangent here, but I remember one of the guys came in with a Nokia, the first ever Nokia camera phone, and I remember saying to him, like a fool, like I did many a times, I would say that would never take off. Who wants a camera on their phone? Who cares?
But if you want a camera, look at aisle number 3.
Yeah.
There's some lovely Canons.
But do you know what? I was actually reading a really interesting article. I think it was in the Metro on their app, and it was actually really interesting talking about how looking at technology like digital cameras. So if you think about digital cameras, wiped out analog cameras, and then the smartphone came out with cameras. And what's funny is that third generation has wiped out the middle, which is the digital cameras, but actually has started to enable the physical again. So actually actual printing of photos is coming back. And same with music. If you think about vinyl CDs and streaming, actually what's happening now is actually that's just streaming, but the vinyl's making a big comeback. So it's funny how almost like the original hunter has gone.
It's a bit like the Beano attitude, right? People do want to rebel a bit.
Yeah, of course they do.
And the fact that you can have a vinyl when everyone else is streaming, people want to go against the mainstream.
Exactly. And it's you know what's funny? Like even people talk about print is dead. Print is, is non-existent. But we've actually seen the comic increase year on year already. So it's interesting that I truly believe that actually if you create something that's entertaining in the right format, in the right way, then it can live on, and I think that works in print, it works in digital, it works in video, whatever it may be. But I find it really fascinating. I mean, I've only been there since May, but the conversation I'm having, I'm learning so much about, which if you'd asked me before I joined the job, what do you know about kids media? I would have no idea, I would just assume, it just be kids TV or just YouTube, but actually it's a much bigger, more interesting space than you would ever imagine. So I find it utterly fascinating. I find it really interesting, challenging, but interesting as well.
You're obviously in the lead up to Christmas, which is the biggest time for children's media, children's products, like everything kids becomes like 10 times more valuable, interesting, engaged with around the Christmas period. What are your expectations of it? Like, it is your first year in the Christmas market in a kid's product. Like, it must be crazy with what you're doing.
Do you know what? It's funny. So we actually launched our Christmas trends report. I think, if memory serves right, it was in July, and I think we did it by the way, if anyone listening, llamas are in. Kids love llamas.
Llamas.
Right. Unicorns, hell no. All about llamas.
We were a year away from calling this business llama.
Really?
Well, goats were...
Well, goat kind of greatest of all time, so that's why you call it goat, right?
But it was also because they were incredibly viral that year on Facebook. When they were falling off like trees, down slides. Was it goats who were like someone clapped and they just faint? Like that was the year.
Was it a goat who? Do you know like they did like a Taylor Swift song? One more thing, love. Is it Trouble? And every now and then they had a goat screaming. That one. There was a lot of those songs where the goat. I'm not going to do that. I can't do goat impressions. I mean, they're weird
as well.
They're weird creatures. That's the thing. They're interesting creatures. But we did a thing where to launch our Christmas trends report, we actually got some inflatable llamas that you could walk, and we sent them to different agencies and different companies to let people know, it's kind of think about Christmas. But we actually did some research. So we do research on our website and we ask kids questions. And one of the questions was back in June is, do you know what you want for Christmas? And more than a third said, yeah, I know exactly what I want for Christmas in June.
And what was it? What are the things that kids want nowadays?
So
I
it's
say nowadays as if
these days.
as I'm.
Do you know it's a huge
50
it's a
years old.
huge collection of products. You've got things like game consoles, Fitbit is becoming quite popular now, which I think is really interesting.
Aged what? For a
Yeah,
Fitbit?
I think a lot of different ages. I think the thing to bear in mind is that I think physical activity. I think physical mental health is becoming a really important area for kids. We work with the FA on creating loads of content for their apps to drive kids to play football, and come up with different messaging for maybe kids who aren't so super competitive.
Yep.
And then with Young Minds, we've worked with them on the mental health side of things. Because now mental health is now part of the school curriculum in primary schools now. So we've just launched downloadable lesson plans. It's our Beano for Schools program, and we've done lots of things around that. So, but yeah, with Christmas, I think Christmas is it's going to be a really interesting time of year. We've got we're speaking to lots of brands and agencies at the moment about how this happened to Christmas, because obviously for them, that's, I was going to say, it's like Christmas. You know what I mean? Like when people say like it's like Christmas,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
kids,
It
kids,
is.
it
It is
really
like
is. It's like their favorite. We're seeing kids want a bit of retro. It's a bit funny. You've got a combination of old school, new school behavior. There's almost seems to be a hankering to more old school behavior. It's real family. They
Games?
really. Yeah, there'll be games. I mean, there'll be things like
What are the things?
retro. We're seeing it's all about retro games. So things like it could be retro board games, or even it's retro toys are becoming a big thing now. So even like old school Star Wars toys has become really. There seems to be a real hankering towards retro. I mean,
Is Lego back in?
Lego. I mean, Lego's always in. Kids love Lego all the time, and
Okay.
I think there's certain things that kids will always love, and I think Lego will always. Because I think certain things. I like to think this for the Beano as well, but I think certain things are almost timeless. I think
for
kids.
sure.
Will always, if you think about the Beano comic, I think kids will want to read about rebellious kids doing silly stuff and trying to get away with it. And I think with Lego, kids will always want to build stuff. Kids will always want to invest their imagination.
Thing,
yeah.
Right?
So I think even though we also about the new generation, and yes, you have to adapt. I mean, if you look at Lego, for example, they've adapted because they've aimed to be plastic free by 2025, I think. So that they've obviously, and Lego have been really good at being all about sustainable and
Yeah, I had the what was his role? VP of Innovation Lego on the podcast very early on, probably mid last year. So if people are listening, then
to listen to
right
that.
away back. James something.
Definitely have to listen to that one again.
It was really really good.
I
They talked
want to
about
go.
how they massively had to change their business in order to keep up with the times.
Yeah, but their core values are still there.
100%.
The core values are all about imagination and encouraging that imagination and creativity. But they're adapting, and you can see loads of brands are adapting. I mean, look at Mattel. They've just launched a gender fluid range of toys now, where you can dress the figures in different ways to masculine or feminine. So you can see how brands are massively adapting. I think they are. I think that's a challenge for a lot of brands, how they adapt in the right way, because a lot of brands they don't always do it in the right way, or it comes across as a bit of a cash grab, and I think it's really. But no, Christmas is going to be interesting. Yeah, we've got some fun stuff lined up we've got a few cool stunts happening, so keep your eyes peeled. But yeah, we're really, really excited about Christmas. So it's going to be really interesting. See what happens. Yeah.
How do you see influencers being a part of the kids strategy? Because it's not an easy thing to do. It's not easy to identify influencers within that age group. I think lots of the things that influence kids are their parents, it's their friend group. It's teachers, as much as they wouldn't like to believe it, but it probably is. Teachers a major part of that as well.
Oh yeah.
And obviously they're watching YouTube and they're watching content on Instagram and things like that. But that age, it still does feel like they're trying to impress their mates, or trying to become part of a group, a social group. And maybe that's tied to an influencer or tied to a community page. But how do you see the influencer side of things fitting in at that age?
Yeah, I mean, I think the reality is these kids have grown up where there are they've always known influencers. Does that make sense? Like when
they're celebrities.
Exactly. What we're seeing from this generation versus say the previous generation is the fact that they are potentially more savvy and can be more selective with who they follow and why they follow them, and a lot of them will decide to, forget someone, unsubscribe, unfollow, whatever it may be, because they act in ways they don't agree with. So I think now we're starting to see that actually they are
So they're almost fickle with their loyalty.
I mean,
but they're loyal to their values.
I think they're loyal to their values, exactly. And if they feel like an influencer doesn't adhere to those values, I mean, we've seen, I won't name any names, but certain influencers where they were super hot. Last year, they loved them. They're doing great videos. A lot of the kids have said that this particular individual was too clickbaity. He was doing stuff in the thumbnails of videos that he didn't deliver. But it's because they're fully aware of what these.
Yeah, they're savvy, right?
And also they're quite savvy in terms of they know when they're being paid to do something. And so it depends on if it's in line with their values, then they're going to think brilliant, awesome. I'm really happy for X. They got paid. Awesome. I'm really happy they're working with this amazing brand. Or they're going to think, oh, actually, I don't trust that person anymore because it's not in line. So I think that we're starting to see that actually kids are starting to. When it comes to certain purchasing decisions, they are more influenced by their mates or by other kids than they are by necessary influences. But it does vary quite a bit, and we are seeing that. But then there's also another conversation about, I guess, kidfluencers, and that's a whole nother. Because I know you obviously had Laura Edwards at the.
Yeah, what are your thoughts on that? That's obviously a major, because someone like Tiana, whose Toys and Me have got 11 million followers on YouTube. Whether or not you agree with the concept of should kids be subscripted to that much attention and that much commercialization at age 11, I think is by the by and a completely separate argument. But the attention that someone like Tiana can generate from that age group is immense.
It's a really...
I just had Ian Shepherd on the podcast last week talking about the fact that 10,000 people turned up to go and see her over 2 days at the Bull Ring.
I mean, I think there's another. I mean, again, we could that'd be. It'd be an interesting debate to have, but it's it's an interesting one. Is how do you? I mean, kids. There've been kid celebrities since the early days of Hollywood, and it's just whether they are being protected, and it's what happens in the family when the kid becomes the main breadwinner. I think it's a real. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we do work with kids ourselves. I mean, we have our panels, so we speak to kids every single week, and that's the relationship we have with the parents. Mm-hmm. Kids can decide to leave whenever they want, and there's a real, very frank and honest process that we go through with that. We do a format called Beano Reviews, where we get kids to review different things. But again, that's more about we want to work with real kids, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Real kids, and that's a relationship we have with the parents as well. Yeah, because we feel like. That there you're going to get a real authenticity and rawness there. Whereas I think there's another conversation to have about kids becoming. I mean, I find it really interesting. But then I do wonder, if you've got a family and the kids are the main influence, and you've got a situation where like a 9-year-old kid can buy a multi-million-pound house. I just wonder what's going to happen to them as they grow. I'm thinking more about them personally, but then I also think long term is when other kids look up to that. Will they want to be influencers? And that's a whole nother.
Well, the research shows that in the UK they do.
Yeah, which I feel, I don't know, I feel a little bit conflicted by that. Because on the one hand, but then if you remember the research, I think one was influencer, the second was teacher. Mm-hmm. So it's people that they were exposed to and people that they interact with. So on the one hand, it's that's interesting. But on the other hand,
But teachers always been there.
Teachers have always been there, and they should always be there. I just wonder.
As in, like, in terms of people's. I remember even growing up, the amount of people in my class who want to be a teacher.
Yeah.
Because, again, it's what they know.
Exactly.
It's what they see. Because they have no idea what their dad does. They have no idea what their mum does, really.
I just wonder, I don't know, from a personal point of view, when I have kids,
Would you want them to do that?
I don't know. Like, I kind of wonder, like, wouldn't I rather they became doctors or scientists? But then I don't know whether maybe I mean, who knows? The influencer model is going to always change. So it'd be interesting to see what happens. But for me, it's just I think the real important thing is to be to make sure you're on trend, because I think I see as an influencer. I mean, you sure do as well. But people think, oh my god, that influencer's amazing right now. We've got to work with them. And a year from now, they're not the same for whatever reason. They've changed their audience, or they've changed their style, or maybe they're just not as popular anymore. And I think that's really important for brands to realize that if you're gonna, especially in the kids space, but I think in any social space, you need to make sure that you are bang on trend. Because it's really easy to not. It's easier to not be on trend, if that makes sense, or try too hard to be a trend and you've missed the boat completely. So I think that's. But then we do work with influencers ourselves at Beano Studios, and we have to work with specific ones that actually are right. They have to be brand safe, kid safe. There's a lot of background checks, and there's a lot of things we have to go through. So we'll see what happens. I mean, to be fair, depending on when this goes out, we could be out of date. Who knows? But,
Yeah, well, Matt, when's this going out? Next week. We won't be
next
that
week,
out of date.
I don't
We're
know.
not going to be
I
that
don't know.
out of
In the
date.
kids space, it's changed completely.
So YouTube has obviously recently just slammed a fine by the FTC.
Yeah.
But it's also changed how kids' content is viewed and advertised upon on the platform, and therefore also how it's going to be pushed by the algorithm and how it's going to get served to people, kids or not, on the platform.
Yep.
How much of an effect do you think that's going to have, not just on content for influencers and people, the consumer as well, the people that are looking for it, the kids that want to watch content and not going to get served it as much, but also for your business and as a publisher that are trying to get to that audience?
Yeah. The reality is kids love YouTube. They do. Although at the moment we're starting to see trends where actually they still love YouTube, but they absolutely love Netflix. And at the moment they're loving Friends and Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Again, going back to that kind of retro.
Yeah, going back to that retro, yeah. So that's and Stranger Things, which they shouldn't be watching, but again, as you all know, when you're a kid, you tend to age up. You tend to watch things you shouldn't be watching.
Rebellious.
Rebellious. I mean, I remember watching Terminator 2 at a far too young age and absolutely loving it. So,
yeah, I remember watching comedy that I probably shouldn't have been watching.
Exactly.
Like Lee Evans and Peter Kay. And
exactly. I mean,
I'm Gervais very early.
I'm pretty sure around the same time I had the Beano in the car, there was a certain age where my dad would put like 2000 AD in there, Judge Dredd, and I'm pretty sure I wasn't old enough to be reading stuff like that. I was reading like slightly more adult graphic novels, but that as
Those long flights to Malaysia.
Those long flights to Malaysia, yeah. But with YouTube, I don't know. Every day I'm reading something new. What's happening with YouTube, and I think it's the reality is that there needs to something needs to happen because there is an acknowledgement that kids are on YouTube and they need to be that needs to be done properly. From a copper, true online privacy point of view, it needs to be done in a proper way. It'd be interesting because there's obviously the YouTube Kids side of things.
Yeah. So how does that go? How does that perform? Or how does that work for you?
So at the moment, we have our YouTube channels at the moment, and we have a combination of different content on there. We have original content, but we also like Beano Tunes, or we have a lot of our back catalogue stuff. So old Banana Man cartoons is on there, and we there's different ways we monetize that. So it'll be interesting to see. We're starting to see how the YouTube algorithm's changing, how it it's favoring certain types of content more than others. If it's done by a trusted source, I kind of put in the views on all these platforms. Really, is we want to be a safe brand. If kids go on YouTube or they're going on Instagram, we want them to think, okay, there's Beano. I know it's a safe space. I know it's a kid safe. But to be honest, the answer is I'm not really sure what's happening with YouTube. It'd be interesting to see what happens because obviously they think there's all sorts of things going on. Whether they're going to be moderating all the content so they know that that's kids, right? You need to go on YouTube Kids, or how do they know that for example, if a kid, I was chatting to someone, I can't remember who I was chatting to the other day actually, and they've got a kid and they're saying how the kid wants to check football scores. They follow football. So if they go on YouTube, I mean, how if a kid's going to watch adult content like that or non-kid content, or if I want to watch, say, an old episode of the X-Men cartoon. How's that? So I'm not really sure. I think even YouTube is still trying to figure out. I think from our perspective has always been trusted by parents, kids safe, and that's something that we take very, very, very seriously because we have to and we should do. And any brand, any platform that kids can go on, they should be taking that responsibility. They need to be aware of that. And I think the rationale of we're not a platform for kids. But if you know that kids are on your platform, then you need to adapt yourselves. Maybe I'm being a bit harsh, but I think that's the reality. And I think, but it's just, we'll see. I mean, I don't have the answer to you because I'm not really sure. I think that's. I think anyone is. I mean, it'd be interesting to see what Google do. I mean, I've talked about. I've heard all sorts of different things about how there's different ways around it, or there's different ways they can adapt. But we want to be the challenge we have as a brand is we are creating content for kids as well as families, and we want to entertain them, and we have our website beano.com, which obviously is a safe space for kids, but then we also want to be on other platforms because we know kids are going to be on YouTube, they're going to be on Instagram. So the challenge is how do we do that in the right way. So it's an interesting time. We'll see. I find it very interesting coming from a social media background where it's very much 18 to 34s.
Yep.
And doing that type of content, horror movie campaigns and that sort of thing. Now going to this sort of space and actually thinking about llamas. Yeah, I mean it's very similar. I can't do llama impression. Definitely can't. So we'll see what happens. But I guess from my perspective, we're really keen on working with brands and agencies who are really interested in taking this generation seriously, and I think that'd be really cool.
You obviously got to deal with quite a lot of interesting, different stakeholders at a company like Beano. One of them, which you've covered quite a lot in detail already, is the kids. Kids who are I'd probably say 95% of your consumer.
Yep, I think that's fair. Yep.
And then the other one is the parents, and being able to satisfy the parents in two different ways. And in my head, I'm thinking of two different ways. There's probably more, but one, you've got to satisfy them with the fact that they're good enough for their kids. The brand and the product is still good enough for the kids.
Yep.
But the other one, which kind of conflicts that one, is that it's still the Beano that they remember.
Yeah, it's really interesting you said that. So I guess there's two ways to look at it. One way, the comic is still got the characters, although there's two things that blew my mind now. One, they all live in the same town now. So back when I used to read the comic, Banana Man would not hang out with Dennis, who would not hang out with Roger the Dodger. Now they all live in one town. So there'd be a storyline and sometimes storyline runs...
They across stories.
So it's like, MCU style, like Infinity War. Boom. There'd be a storyline where Banana Man's trying to stop Roger the Dodger and Minnie from watching a film because they might deduce a secret identity. And that would have blown my mind when I was a kid. And secondly, not to go super geeky, but if you remember the dad, being Dennis's dad.
Yes.
If you remember him, as a really bold man with a little Charlie Chaplin tash, little thin, pencil tash. But when I read the comic, Dennis's dad doesn't look like that. Dennis's dad looks like a bit like him, just slightly chubby and middle-aged, with the same really big black hair. Yeah. And I remember thinking, because it's, we get to read the comic every week, so it's like being a kid again. And I remember thinking, what is that? And it's because, and they explained it in almost like a flashback. The Dennis that we know and love is the dad of the Dennis in the comic. If that makes sense. Anyway, that blew my mind. So, and there's in the comic, there's lots of little references to adults that they can enjoy, adult jokes. So, for example,
it's like The Simpsons, right?
Like Simpsons, yeah. So last week there was the Bash Street Kids had a thing where it's almost like University Challenge. So there was a version of Jamie Paxman doing it, and there was a few characters who may or may not look a bit like our current, Prime Minister and as a Tory MP. So that was quite interesting.
But the other mixes between kids entertainment and satire, right?
Exactly. But the other side of the thing, the other flip of the coin is we've got our website, and most, our website gets 1 million kids a month, and there are going to be kids coming onto the website who don't know the comic, but parents trust the brand. They go on the site, they know it's a safe space. So that's quite an interesting thing. I mean, we're actually looking to launch Beano Studios in the US. So we've hired a guy, and he's was at DMWF New York last month, and he's doing some really cool stuff. And he's got an interesting challenge because over there, although we're a really strong heritage British brand, and there's really famous people who've talked about how the comic helped them read when they didn't want to read when they were at school. It helped them. They were really reluctant readers. But in the US, Beano, the name of Beano is the name of the anti-flatulence medication.
Right,
which I think is
a brand problem.
I think it's kind of on brand if you think about it in some ways, depending on your form of toilet humor.
Those fart, what are they called?
Whoopee cushions.
Whoopee cushions.
We do have, if you're lucky to come to one of our events, you get I should have bought some with me. I'm really sorry. You can get the Dennis whoopee cushions, and they self-inflate. You don't have to blow them up anymore. Someone sits there, makes a noise, and then they go boop, and they blow up again.
That's genius.
I know. I mean. Screw moon landing, screw the iPhone. That's the greatest invention of the last century. That's great. I should have bought some with me. I should have bought some with me. But no, it's I think it's funny actually working at Beano for Studios, because on the one hand we're a brand that people know and love and parents know and love, but on the other side of things we're still a startup. We're still that 2-3 year startup trying to figure things out, trying to establish different ideas. But there's a lot of different elements to what we do. Everything from which is very different coming from purely a social content business. Everything from IP to licensing. Obviously coming from that event, to TV, to to insights and data. That's a whole new area for in this type of world anyway. I did a bit of that when I was at the Hook, but this is kind of taking it to that next level of being able to get information from a difficult audience to get information from, in the right way to doing great cool content. I mean, it's a really if you had told me that many years ago when I was a kid that I'd be working at the same company that made Beano, and later I found out Dandy, that blew my mind. That was done by the same company.
Oh, wow,
Do
yeah.
you know?
No,
yeah,
I didn't know that.
yeah, same company. Yeah. So Dandy stopped a few years back, but I think some of the other characters were looking to bring back in a big way. So it's cool. Yeah, it's really, really.
I feel like you're full of life and excited about this kind of next step in your career.
I find I just like I've always liked a good challenge. I've always liked. I can't imagine walking into a company or a job, and they say to me, "Yeah, we're all good. Yeah, we're all sorted. Just sit there. Here's your list of people you can speak to. They know what you do already. Have fun." And I don't know if I'd enjoy that. I kind of like the scrappiness. I kind of like the idea of saying, I love meeting brands and agencies who wouldn't have even considered working with someone like Beano Studios because they would have just think of us as a comic, or they wouldn't think about engaging kids, or they had no idea. And I find that I've always found that challenge really interesting and exciting. So yeah, but it's cool. It's really cool. Yeah. So we'll see what happens. Yeah, see how it goes. I mean, maybe next time you see me have a massive Dennis tattoo. No, I'm joking. I'm not.
Nice,
that would be cool.
I've got two more questions before we
cool.
wrap up. First one is probably something you don't get asked that much on professional podcasts.
I've only done this my second ever.
Oh, really?
Podcast,
Okay, well,
so
I doubt they asked this question. And more comes from me knowing you personally than.
Oh God, I don't. I do not like the sound of it.
You're boxing.
Oh, okay.
So I'm only asking because our head of recruitment is one of the biggest white collar boxing promoters in the UK.
Oh wow! Okay.
And he's putting on an event. He puts on like 2 or 3 events in a year.
Okay.
Put an event on the 14th of November. I'm not fighting, but 5 people in the office are on the card.
Oh wow!
So there's 12 fights, and 5 of them include GOAT agency.
Oh my God,
employees.
that's gonna be amazing.
So it'll be an amazing night. 1,000 people at Clapham Grand.
Boys and girls.
Boys and girls.
Okay. Yep. Interesting. Okay. And
what would be your advice for those 5 that are listening
man.
to this? You've done it. You've walked out to the music that you chose, to the ring, and had a grueling, what I imagine was 6 minutes, 3
If you lost the full 3 rounds, yeah.
Of which you did?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. That sounds so nonchalant. Of course.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
So you what advice? What before they training or
No, they're currently going for the training. In fact, we're recording this on a Wednesday night. They train Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday.
Okay.
Three training days a week. I took one of my best mates who works here is fighting for the first time. All of them are fighting for the first time. As well.
Okay.
And I took him out on Tuesday morning with a personal trainer at 7 a.m. to go and feel like Rocky running around in a big park. And yeah, what's your advice? You've done it. You've been there.
So my main advice to do is if you can, as much as possible, you need to box. Sounds really obvious, but
ring time.
You need, and it's not just about boxing's more than just trying to beat up the other person. It's a lot more than that. You need to be able to. A lot of it comes down to mental adaptiveness. And also, just because if you get hit, not to panic. The normal human thing to do is when someone punches you in the face, is to blink and go, "Oh no!" And also, actually, this sounds really silly, but the amount of times I've sparred with someone, especially if they're brand new, and they don't hit me in the face, they aim for my gloves. They don't hit me in the face. So it's being used to be able to just to adapt, and I think that's really important. Just being able to adapt, and actually, and this is the really annoying irony of boxing, is you have to be both tight. So you need to have, control your stomach because you're going to get hit a lot in the stomach, and you have to be tight in terms of your stance, but you almost have to be relaxed. It's a real oxymoron, is that right? Yeah. Thing where you almost have to be like
uptight but relaxed.
Yeah, because, and again, I find it's even inspiring
for
now.
People listening to this on Spotify. And
you're not going to be able to see what
you're not going to get what you've just missed there, and you can go onto YouTube or LinkedIn to watch it.
Nice,
Alvin, basically jousting with himself.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's
the ducking and weaving.
Yeah, well, do you know what? I actually don't. I shouldn't be saying this to any of my future opponents who might be listening to this.
Are you going again?
I actually don't like. Well, I don't know. I
you enjoy it that much?
I still do it.
Okay, that's cool.
But I think the important thing, I find that even when I spar now, I do better against the people. It's again really annoying. You find that you go against someone, you're like, okay, I'm cool with this person. I'm more relaxed. As soon as you go up against someone, you're like, oh, this person's bloody good. And that's when you need to be more relaxed, but you're not. So I say the advice would be relax but tight. Don't just go for the head. Really silly. Always go for the body. Try and and I would say in a white collar fight is that if you can show control the center. That's what I say. If you are showing aggression and you are controlling the pace, you're going to get points. But what you also need to be able to do is be able to know when you're about to gas out. You need to be able to control your energy. So if you do as many rounds as possible, oh God, I'm knackered. Cool. You know when to back away. You know how to fight on the back foot. So a lot of it is just repeat. But a lot of it comes down. I mean, I beat my guy.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Convincingly.
Thank you. Points. By fitness. Simple as that.
Yes.
He lovely guy, really lovely guy. And he gassed out. He was pretty knackered by the middle of the second round. And I later found out that he sank. Yeah, I'm really happy I found out after the fact. In fact, that he fought in Afghanistan, and he was taller than me. He had like an 8-pack. He was in better shape than I was. Physically, if you think. And he said he was doing like 2-mile runs a day or 10-mile runs a day, and I was like, sweet, I've done 0 miles runs a day. But all I did was box. So if I'd give one advice, it's just and then this could be another podcast. Think about footwork. So when you are, again, if you listen to this, I'm doing hand motions to help illustrate my point. But when you are fighting, most people do very kind of straight, especially if you're just brand new, you're just going to go forward,
I'm
back, forward, back. But if you know how to take different angles, if you know how to skip or how to move your body in certain ways, or you then can find different angles. And most people you're going to fight with are not going to be able to adapt to that. So if you know, good
advice.
Yeah. But I would also say have a great time, enjoy it, relax when you get there. So on the day, the most annoying part is the week before the fight. By that point, you've done all your training and you think to yourself, I just want to go now, and you don't, and you can't do that hardcore sparring because you don't want to injure yourself. So that's really annoying. And on the day, you just want to relax, have a good time, pick good music, get yourself pumped up.
My mate's gone for Stone Cold's theme.
Oh, really? I was thinking of going for a wrestler's theme. I think I had a playlist of like 50, 60 songs. I got my missus to go through every single one. And we went with Welcome to the Jungle by Guns N' Roses. And
that's nice.
When it kicks in, especially when it goes, I'm going to make you bleed. And you're like, yes. But I remember going down to the ring, and in the ring, and I remember my friends, I got my friends at ringside. Very useful. Have your closest supporters at ringside, because they'll really G you up. And I remember...
obviously, there's 5 people fighting, right? Basically, the whole office is going.
Oh, it's going to be amazing.
1,000 people there, of which, I don't know, 50 of them will be...
Where's the fight?
Clapham Grand.
Clapham Grand. Oh, yeah. Oh, wow. That's going to be cool.
That's
brilliant.
Really
cool.
We went to one last year because one of our other guys fought. And
Did he win?
Yeah, he was the first fight on the night and he won.
Nice. So if you can do it, I was like the first fight, and it was great. I spent the rest of the night having a jolly good time. Mm-hmm. I didn't have to worry about the rest. So
and you can watch all your mates.
I could watch all my mates, yeah, and that would be great for you. I mean, it'd be amazing to support, and it's good that everyone's doing it together. But I found that when I was in the ring, I was strangely calm. All my mates were like, "Yeah, come on!" They were cheering. I remember at one point telling my mates, "Guys, just relax, just chill. I'm the one in the ring." But have a great time. Whatever happens, have a good time. Even if you lose, or even if you gas out, or whatever happens, even if you get knocked out, you've done something that most people wouldn't be able to do. You've gone into a ring, and we're not athletes. I mean, I'm not an athlete. Your colleagues aren't athletes, but the fact is, it's very rare in life to be able to go into a ring and doing like, okay, I'm fighting someone. I'm actually in a kind of a competitive element, and it's very different to other sports like football, where you've got your other mates, or you're doing 5-side or 11-side, whatever. Mm-hmm. You do all the training, and you've got your corner man. Listen to your corner man; he'll sort you out. You sit in, and it's on you. Mm-hmm. That's it. I remember watching a documentary about Anthony Joshua, and he said boxing's a very lonely sport. And I remember watching even an Ali one recently, and it's a lonely sport because you can have all your mates with you, and you can have all your support. But at the end of the day, you're in that ring by yourself. Simple as that. So I'll just say, have a great time. You will. I mean, at the end, whatever happens, you're going to absolutely love it. You love it more if you win, obviously. Yeah. But just really, really enjoy it. But I would, yeah.
Good advice.
Good advice. Yeah, I mean, I'm happy if any of them genuinely want to email me or message me and want some more advice. Let me know. I mean, I know my gym is. If they want extra sparring and they want to spar with different. That's my other piece of advice. I guess I'm probably if they want, it messes me because I can help them with other sparring. I think because the challenge they'll have as well, and no disrespect to the white collar model, but the problem that they're going to have is they're going to be sparring against other newbies. And the problem with sparring other newbies is that you're never going to get that much better. Whereas if you do other sparring, if you can get other sparring sessions with people who've done fights before, then you're going to be better because you're going to learn from them. But I remember one of the guys who's in my sparring, a guy called Joe. He's 50 plus. He's got the body that we all want. He's 50 plus. He's got a body of like someone in their mid 20s. And I remember I'm sparring with him, and if you hit him, I think I've hit him 5 times in years. I once knocked his contact lens out. That's the proudest moment of my life. It's up there with getting married and other things. But she'll love it. She's not going to listen to this. No,
Wrongly so.
She probably will actually. She's a huge fan.
Of me.
Of you, Harry. She doesn't really care about me. He actually said to me, "Don't worry, mate. You're not gonna fight someone as annoying as me." But I learned from that. I realized that actually I'll be all right. So anyway, yeah, I could give you tons of advice. Yeah.
So yeah, that's really useful. And then the last question I ask everyone is, and it might link into this to be honest, is what do you do in your spare time to wind down? Because you obviously had an incredibly busy job at the Hook, and now got a very different job. You're recently married, and
I got married last year. Yeah.
Recently boxed out.
Yeah.
What did you do to wind down?
So I mean, things like working out. Boxing, gym is great. I actually find listening to podcasts while working out like my most relaxing thing.
Okay.
So I listened to the Goat Pod podcast. I was listening to the one you did with CJ, I think, and I was listening to the one you did with the chap from Endemol. I've forgotten his name now. Really cool guy. I've actually met him. It's gonna annoy me now. I forgot. Anyway, I was listening to that one as well. So I listened to podcasts. I listened to all sorts. And then actually, you know what? I find as a combination of hanging out with my friends, really close friends, and trying to invest. It's really easy. I think it goes. I mean, it seems really obvious, but we're all really busy here. We're all really busy. Work hard hours, and it's really easy just being a weekend and be like, I'm not gonna do anything. I'm just gonna. Sometimes it's just nice to just go out for lunch or just hang out. One of our best friends got a lovely little sausage dog called Peanuts. I try and hang out with him as much as I can. And then I love a Netflix binge. Like I love streaming.
What's the show?
Oh my god, I could spend hours. At the moment, I'm watching Arrow on the DC show on Amazon Prime at the moment. Okay. I want to get up to date with that. We're watching Glitch, which is an Australian show about these people who've come back from the dead. Basically, I like to think I'm good at obscure Netflix shows that are really good. But if I had to pick any show, honestly, any show that I could watch right now and it's gonna be best thing to relax, it'd be RuPaul's Drag Race. 100%. 100%. Because it's by far the best reality TV show I've ever cut. It's like Next Top Model mixed with Project Runway, but not rubbish, in my opinion. Although, this is kind of gone off topic here, but a bit of a random thing that happened to me last week, so it all ties in. Last Tuesday, I left my boxing bag on the train. And you may have seen this on my Facebook or Instagram, and I left it on the train. I was doing and I was like, oh no, because it had my mouth guard, but I also had the personalized vest that I wore that I won my fight. And I thought, so I remember going all over the blocks. I went to Victoria. They said, well, you're going to have to wait a week. And then finally, my last resort, after going to all these different stations, was Tweet, Southeastern. And within about 20 minutes, they said, yeah, your bag is at this station. And then it says, Shantae, you stay.
Newcastle.
Luckily it was Victoria. And then they said, Shantae, you stay. Because they saw on my Twitter feed that obviously I like RuPaul. And they obviously were a RuPaul fan. And then we kind of responded with little GIFs and memes and stuff. So
nice.
That's for me.
Good engagement.
Shows power social media. Shows that they obviously love RuPaul. I'm really excited about the new series starting tomorrow. The UK one starts tomorrow. So I'm pretty excited about that.
Nice.
So yeah.
It's been a pleasure talking.
Always a pleasure, mate. Always.
A good hour talking everything.
Oh, God,
Kids, media.
We covered a lot. We social media, crazy clowns, boxing.
Llamas.
Drag queens and llamas.
What an episode.
What an episode.
What an episode, man. Llamas, drag queens. Oh, fantastic.
You see what it's like chatting to me on Friday night at the pub.
When he's had a few beers.
Yeah, Jesus. This would be stone cold sober. There you
are. So, thank you very much for coming on.
No worries. Anytime, my friend.
Yeah, as Alvin alluded to throughout the podcast, we've got plenty of others in the back catalogue. This is my second podcast in 3 days. I've got another one tomorrow, I think. Yes. So really start banking them up ahead of the Christmas rush, which I'll really release them. So some great guests coming up. Thank you very much for listening. There's back catalogue on Spotify, iTunes, and we also released the video version if you're just listening on YouTube, and then we put snippets up on LinkedIn. On LinkedIn and YouTube, we also daily vlog. If you're not a watcher of daily vlog, we video every single day from the Goat Agency. Life, Matt behind the camera, runs around the office and tries to annoy as many people as he can every single day. Does a very good job of it. I've seen. And yeah, so do check that out as well. And yeah, thank you very much for watching, listening, and we'll see you next time.